me ask you something, brother. What you gonna do when this Sunday, InjuryMania runs wild all over Los Angeles, all over SoFi Stadium, and runs wild all over South San Francisco 49ers, and all over the LA Rams, and all over you, and you. Oh man, what a bad time for all these injuries, not just around the NFL, but more specifically, my San Francisco 49ers as they take on the also injury-riddled Los Angeles Rams in this Week 3 2024 matchup. And yeah, talk about bad times. Bad times for these injuries. Anyway, welcome to another weekly preview, another weekly preview matchup for my San Francisco 49ers in this 2024 campaign. I'm DylanLasagna, and yeah, not a good week exactly for both of these teams, not just because of the injuries, but they're coming off some pretty bad losses, in my opinion. So before we talk about the lengthy injury report for both of these teams, let's talk about the week that was for both of these teams and why they're coming into this game a little desperate for a win. A little desperate for a win in this divisional matchup. So let's talk about my San Francisco 49ers first. So coming off that Week 1 opening win against the not the Green Bay Packers, the New York Jets. I'm thinking Green Bay Packers because that was Aaron Rodgers' old team. So after beating Aaron Rodgers' new team, the New York Jets, they had to go across the country to Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Vikings. And that was their first road game of the year. But unfortunately, that was also their house of horrors for almost 30 years. And unfortunately, they still couldn't overcome the demons of their dreams. And almost everyone had a terrible day at the office. That included Brock Purdy because he got sacked. He also got intercepted multiple times. And he just was pretty bad throughout that game. While the defense was torched by their old buddy Sam Darnold all day long in a 23-17 game that just didn't feel close for most of it. Sure, you look at that score and say to yourself, oh, they were in a tough dogfight. But no, when you watch some highlights, yeah, it didn't exactly feel that way. They tried to come back in that one, but they ultimately came short. But it wasn't close by any stretch of the imagination. Meanwhile, for the LA Rams, they suffered even worse down in the desert when they took on the Arizona Cardinals in their first of two division matchups of the season. And for the Rams, their first of two in consecutive weeks. But for the Rams, not off to a good start because they got their butts whooped from the jump by Kyler Murray and that Arizona offense. Now, the Rams allowed 28 first half points to them en route to a 41-10 butt whooping in the desert. So, yeah, not good for these injury-riddled Rams. And they also suffered another injury on that offense. But we'll talk about what specifically that injury was when we talk about the lengthy injury report. So, yeah, going into this game, both of these teams are really beat up. And, yeah, that's why we're calling this InjuryMania. What number is it exactly? Well, from my feeling, it's like the first one of the year. InjuryMania running wild all over you, brother. Anyway, now let's get into the injury report. Now that we're having a little too much fun with the Hulk Hogan impersonations here, pal. So let's look at this long injury report. Starting with my 49ers. Initially, it seemed like the injury report for San Francisco wasn't going to be too bad. All you had was Deebo Samuel, who was listed with a calf strain like very late in that Vikings game. And he said he was going to miss 1 or 2 games with that calf strain. So he's certainly going to miss this game against the Rams and likely the next one against New England at home. So, all right. We're not going to have one of our top receivers in this one. So one less weapon for Brock Purdy. So, yeah, I mean, we're already down Christian McCaffrey, who's on IR for a couple weeks, and now no Deebo Samuel. Just great. And, all right, 2 players down, and everything seems to be going fine with practice for the first one of the week because everyone that else that either didn't or was limited in practice last week, they fully practiced, it seemed, which was very good news. But that's until the second practice happened on Thursday. And then we we didn't get some good news, because when you hear that George Kittle and Charvarius Ward, they didn't practice at all in that one. Yeah, some red flags waved in the air like they just didn't care. So yeah, George Kittle didn't practice at all. I believe it was with a hamstring tightness, and Charvarius Ward also had some soreness. Hopefully Charvarius Ward will be able to play. Maybe it's just a precautionary thing. But for George Kittle, they seem like they're afraid that he's not going to be able to go. And if he's not able to go, yeah, that's even another weapon for Brock Purdy not to have. But we'll talk more about Purdy when we talk about the end of this video. But another injury to keep an eye on is Nick Bosa. He was limited, but maybe it's just a precautionary thing. So I guess if you want to be positive somewhat, the injury front, safety Talanoa Hufanga, at least he fully practiced for the first time since tearing his ACL last year against the Bucs. So he has an opportunity to return this coming Sunday. So I'm not sure how exactly going to do it. Maybe he might go out there fully, or maybe they just might ease him back in with some reps. We'll see. I do feel like, in my opinion, though, it might be the second option. They just might, have him go out there, play a little bit, or bit by bit, rep by rep. Well, we will see. But either way, it's good that Talanoa Hufanga is slowly easing his way back in. So that's at least some positive after the injury stuff that happened this past Thursday. And keep in mind that I am recording this before the final practices on Friday. So we won't know the final injury report until then. Meanwhile, for the Rams, the injury list for them is also very lengthy, with nearly a good amount of their starters have either already missed the first 2 games of the year, will be missing the game because they got injured in the second one, and more, or they're already on injured reserve. Such is the case with receiver Puka Nacua, guard Jonah Jackson, also guard Steve Avila, and then you also have defensively Darion Kendrick at corner, safety John Johnson, also Darius Williams, and then most recent addition, receiver Cooper Kupp. However, Cooper Kupp, they're not placing him on injured reserve because, Sean McVay is very weary. He's very weary because he already has about around 9 to 10 players on injured reserve, and you can only put a certain amount of players on there before you hit your cap. And you can only bring back a certain amount as well from injured reserve. And once you reach that threshold, you can't bring the ones that you already put on IR. So yeah, you gotta be very dicey there. I mean, if the Niners were in that situation, I would also be very dicey about that too. It's like, yeah, be careful there, pal. Be careful there. Especially this early in the season, if you're the blue and gold Rams, the blue and gold side of Los Angeles, man, not a good situation to be in. So for the Rams, it's very dicey. It's a very dicey situation to be in. And for Matthew Stafford too, you're missing all those pieces and just the offense as a whole. It's not good. It is not good for them. And it's also a key reason why that the Rams, they got their butts handed to them by the Cardinals last week. And it's something to watch for going into this one against San Francisco. So looking at the keys to victory for both of these teams, starting with my 49ers, well, since we mentioned about the fact that there's no Deebo Samuel, there's no Christian McCaffrey, and there's possibly no George Kittle, this is a game where Brock Purdy absolutely needs to prove to himself and to the world that he can produce without 2 and potentially 3 of his key pieces on offense. It's like, if you want to prove that you deserve, you can earn this big fat money contract next offseason, you want to prove that you're one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC, let alone the entire NFL, that you want to prove that, that Mr. Relevant tag is your thing, then you got to go out there and show the world that you can be an elite quarterback without having 3 of your top pieces out there on offense. So, especially against a depleted Rams team, and potentially even next week against the Patriots, these next couple of games are going to be very vital for Brock Purdy to see and prove that he can be a key guy around the NFL and produce against a team and a couple others. See what he's got without a couple of his main starting pieces. And then defensively, like, they got to have a better showing, especially, again, with the Rams missing so many pieces on offense. Like, they got to take advantage. Like, the pass rush, they have to get to Matthew Stafford. Like, they still got pieces on defense that's starting there for the 49ers. The secondary, they got to lock down on the reserve turned starting receivers that are filling in for Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And if they somehow don't do that on defense, well, we're going to have a conversation about that in our review of that game. So if the Niners don't do that, we're going to have a problem. I mean, I obviously not going to go there and start a little thing, but yeah, we're going to have a little bit of issue there, pal. Meanwhile, for the Rams, considering that a little bit of a quarter of your team is either injured or on injury reserve, well, considering what happened last week where you got your butts whooped, you got to find a way to produce on both sides of the ball. For Matthew Stafford, I mean, you got to find a way to get your third and fourth receiver, going. You got to get the rushing attack involved. And then defensively, got to find a way to get some turnovers, especially in the back line of the defense. I mean, for the pass rush, you still have most of your starting front four still there, I assume, right? But either way, you got to get all the guys that you have now producing, and just finding ways to attack your opposition, that being the 49ers. I mean, it's just as simple as that. That's your biggest key to victory if I'm looking at it. So yeah, overall, this game, it's a division rivalry. It's a division matchup. It's two rivals going at each other's throats. But all I can say is, they're so beat up that, I mean, it's not that the interest is not there, but it's also just like, the star power is kind of lacking in some. But some people say, oh, it's going to be a blowout by the 49ers. But no, don't assume that. This game could be a little closer than you can imagine. But we'll see come on Sunday. And let's see which team that's the least injured or not will win. Let's see which injured team will come out on top. And again, I'm hoping it's my 49ers. Well, let me know your thoughts on this game, this InjuryMania that's going to run wild in SoFi Stadium on Sunday between the 49ers and the Rams. Drop your take, drop your comments in the comments below. And what is, if you're rooting for either team, let me know what's the biggest key for them to win this matchup in the comments below. Anyway, until the next Niners video, keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge. Your takes on the world of sports. This is DylanLasagna signing out. And as always, peace out.